Hello, and welcome back to SpongeBob Central. Sorry it's been so long since the last episode. I am really hoping to eventually do these more consistently. For now, however, I am finally going to be reviewing a SpongeBob episode. And this isn't just any old episode, it's a 1-hour special, this time celebrating the show's 20th anniversary, and it is nothing short of eventful. Without further fanfare, it's time to take a look at SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout. SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout is the third 1-hour special we've gotten, following 2007's Atlantic Square Pandas and 2009's Truth or Square. It follows 3 separate plots, of which 2 get the main focus. SpongeBob and Patrick take a sightseeing tour of the land above water, and Sandy tries to put together a surprise birthday party for SpongeBob. Meanwhile, Patchy the Pirate ventures off to send SpongeBob a birthday gift. Notice anything missing here? You'll know what it is in a second, once we start discussing. The thing with calling this a story is, I don't know if you even can. When you get right down to it, this episode has barely any narrative to it, and above all else, no central conflict. The episode is more about putting the characters in certain situations and then pulling them out almost immediately to move on to the next thing. A lot of recent SpongeBob episodes have had this same issue in which they'd rather just throw a bunch of things together than actually tell a concise story. This special shows that especially, as the live action parts of the episode are just plot points being established and dropped over and over again with barely a beginning, middle, and end to it, and the party B-plot is just fluff that reminds you it's a birthday special. Good fluff, but fluff nonetheless. The way I see it, you can look at this in 2 different ways. The special can be seen as an unfocused mess, and it can be said that this lack of conflict makes the episode's story bad, which is true and fair criticism, but I can also see the lack of focus as a stylistic choice for giving a variety of different set pieces for the characters to bounce off of comedically, instead of forcing a solid 3-act structure, or any structure, making the episode less predictable as a result. Doesn't excuse the lack of a focus in the story, but I can give it a pass because of the way in which it managed to hold my interest. The pacing in SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout, like many recent episodes, is off. Since the special has more time to kill, it uses it to make the speed at which things run a lot slower paced than usual, which is its benefit and downfall. The downfall of the longer runtime is that it causes certain scenes to be unnecessarily dragged out to fill said time. What makes that worse is that while they drag out the more useless scenes, the moments that actually have relevance to any semblance of a plot are given the shaft. We get really drawn-out scenes of bean-themed mascots and characters fighting about the theme of the party, and then when something interesting happens, like the live-action counterpart scenes, it feels like wasted potential because of the strangely short amount of time they're put in the spotlight. What was even the point of that portion of the episode anyways if it wasn't a main feature? The scene went on long enough to not be a simple gag, but it didn't do enough to be considered something that affected the story or made a mark on it in any way. Though it was really cool, its place within the story confuses me so much. Back to the topic at hand, the poor pacing hurts the special a little bit, but not enough to call it unbearable. The humor in this episode is hit or miss, though I'd say a lot more hit than missed. The longer runtime comes as a benefit here because of how much the slower pace services the jokes, their timing, and the delivery of the voice actors when executing the jokes. You're able to take in what characters are saying a lot easier and appreciate more of the jokes because of how it's directed. There were a lot of great moments in here, such as the Gorilla Mask sales meeting, Patrick wanting beans, the My Leg gag they threw in, among so many others, which I would consider a result of good writing, storyboarding, and direction in general. However, the special did have an array of weaker jokes too, mostly with the characters reacting to real-life things. A lot of that humor felt a bit stale and cheap. But I believe that's to be expected, as there's not much original material one can get from a fish-out-of-water story after how many times it's been done, even on SpongeBob. Since the episode kept me laughing consistently throughout most of it, I'll give it a pass on that. A lot of the things they do in this episode are really satisfying, but what I find the most satisfying is all the characters that make appearances here. I'm not here to do a full breakdown of who's there and why it's cool that they're there, but I mean, Mindy, Zeus the Guitar Lord, other people, cool things. On a different note, there's one thing about this special that seriously bugs me, and that's these realistic anatomy CGI fish that just exist in the same universe as the other fish characters. Why do they look so different from literally every other fish character on the show? And why do they stay looking like that style the whole time? If this is confirmation that the Bikini Bottomites are sole victims of nuclear detonation, and these are just fish that weren't affected by it, then I guess that's some solid world building right there. The final scene of SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout has to be one of my favorite endings in all of SpongeBob, for a multitude of reasons. It's sweet in how SpongeBob expresses his love for the life he lives and the friends that care about him. It's cathartic in how Patchy the Pirate and SpongeBob meet for the first time. It's fun in how they spoof the theme song in a birthday-themed parody. It's cool to see the crazy amount of celebrities at the end wishing SpongeBob a happy birthday. I mean, Gilbert Gottfried, come on. It's funny in how they make a joke about SpongeBob's unknown age. And their simple yet effective tribute message to Stephen Hillenburg is the cherry on top of the metaphorical cake that is SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout. Though the episode as a whole had its flaws, the way they wrapped it up had so many great things that I'd recommend watching it just for this payoff. I was a little bit critical of this special, and it does have its flaws, of which it shares with most SpongeBob episodes these days. But despite my problems with the pacing and the writing and whatever else have you, SpongeBob's Big Birthday Blowout still has so much going for it. It's funny, satisfying, and incredibly heartwarming. Plus, above all else, it kept my interest. It exceeded my expectations in a lot of ways and reminded me of what I loved about this show in the first place. It serves well as a love letter to Stephen Hillenburg, and the fact that episodes as sweet as this can happen gives me high hopes for the future of the show. That's all for this episode of SpongeBob Central, and I hope to see you all soon.